have Melissa Rundle. Thanks for being on, Melissa.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh man, it's just great to have you on. So, from what I heard, you have written a lot of stuff and you've worked for a production company who's
Mhm.
got work on Upwork, Hulu, Netflix, Quibi. And
Yes.
uh, and so we just want to hear about your start, your origin. Like, how did you fall into screenwriting?
Um, I I first sort of wanted to be a writer when like I grew up in Vancouver and my parents divorced when I was 2. My mom stayed in the city. My dad moved to the country. And so I would spend summer vacations up there in this really beautiful town, but there was nothing to do. And as like a super nerdy, allergic little girl, like I couldn't go outside. So I started renting videos from the video store there. And I saw The Godfather when I was 9.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness,
yeah, I know.
that's
It's
heavy.
so crazy. But I watched it on repeat the whole summer, and then when I got
Wow.
to the city, I asked my school. I was like, please, can you order me a screenplay copy of The Godfather? And they did. And I read it, and I had never read a screenplay before, but I was just like, that's it. That's what I want to do.
And how old were you?
I was like 9, 10.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And so then you've kind of geared towards that ever since. That's been your focus.
Yes. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, so I have detoured. So I majored in women's studies and film production, and even then, within the film production program, I was like, oh, I really like cinematography, and I really like editing, and
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, like, okay, writing, that's what I want to do. But the more scripts that I wrote, I was just like, this feels right.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you went to film school?
Went to film school for undergrad, and then I did a detour for law school. It didn't take, you
Just trying
know,
it out,
uh,
why not? Go for it.
yeah, yeah. I was in Montreal. It was the coldest winter on record. It was minus 30 degrees Celsius.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
I don't even know what that is Fahrenheit, but it
It's
was
a lot.
really cool. And I was like, you know what? Palm trees, California, this is looking good. So I applied to USC grad school for film production. And for my thesis, I did a script. A lot of students, they do, they'll like direct a short film. But I've seen so many of my friends, it's like 60 grand and we're making
Yeah.
a short film. And I was
Yep.
like, what's cheaper? Paper and ink. But also
Yeah.
I was just like, I just want to write my feature. So I wrote a feature called Plan B. It was about 3 teen girl best friends who have 72 hours to get the morning after pill. Based on a true
Wow.
story, but me helping a friend, not that I
Yeah, no, I get it. No, it's a good thing to write about. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, why not? It's reality.
exactly.
And I was interning for a director at the time called Mark Rothman. He directed A Cinderella Story and The Perfect Man, starring Hilary Duff. And so I thought, great, this is a teen girl comedy script. I'll give it to him.
Right.
As soon as he read it, he wanted to direct it. We ended up
Fantastic.
getting,
It had
yeah.
it had to be really good because a
Oh,
director at that caliber, he'll read an intern script, but if it's not that good, he'll just give you notes on it. But if he wanted to make it and rep it, I mean, kudos to you. That's fantastic. That's taking advantage of an opportunity when you see it, and it's one of the ways that you break in.
yeah, that's true. I was definitely nervous to give it to him, but I mostly gave it to him as like, if you could please give me feedback.
Right.
Like,
Perfect.
I never assumed like I'm giving this to you to direct. Like, no, I was
Yeah.
just, please give me some feedback.
Yeah, you weren't dripping with desperation. You didn't have all of your hopes and dreams on this script. You approached it, it sounds like, maturely, and
Oh,
it obviously impressed him. So,
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like, I feel like if you can, in any genre, if you can write what you know, or if you can bring like any kind of seeds of authenticity to your story, I think that really helped. Because a lot of the feedback I got from that script was like, wow, I can't believe all this happened. And I was like, yeah, it really did, you know?
I think that's really interesting because people tend to talk about, oh, gritty realism, but realism doesn't have to be gritty. It just has to be authentic. And I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, by bringing in that voice of authenticity, of not just knowing the material or knowing your characters, but emotionally being able to express it. And I would assume you're not just being a woman, but I mean, you majored in women's studies. So that reinforced what you're going through as well. Um, I think that's a really great tip for anybody listening, that bring some authenticity to your stories and it will take it to another level. It's fantastic.
I also feel like what you mentioned about knowing your characters. I think that is also so important. Um, I almost feel like audiences will watch an interesting character and maybe the plot isn't that great, but I feel like if the character is interesting, it'll hold an audience's attention better. And I don't know, I feel like sometimes if I'm having trouble getting to know a character, what I'll do is I'll do this one exercise, and it's I will write and record everything about the character from the moment the character wakes up to the time the character goes to sleep. So it's
So,
like,
so a day in their life.
yeah, but
Oh, what a great drill. I love that. Oh,
oh
that's a
yeah,
fantastic technique. Wonderful.
yeah, and if you're having trouble imagining stuff, you can just start with your own stuff. Like, what kind of sheets are in your bed? Like, what's the art in your bedroom like? You know, and just kind of it just starts spinning.
It's
And then
wonderful.
what's really cool is I feel like if you really know your character, the character will start to do things on their own, and I feel like that's just magic. And
Yeah, they'll definitely speak to you. I remember writing out and outlining a plot and then doing a sci-fi film that was getting repped at Sci-Fi Channel. I was doing
oh, nice.
it was a creature horror film. It was really cool. And I had written it initially for one of the characters to die within the first 15 pages, and that was outlined and everything, and she would not let me kill her off until
Oh,
the very end of the script, and then I had to kill her off. And so sometimes they will speak to you. That's absolutely true. And then you do the best you can to adapt to that. Um, wow, what a great drill. I got to be honest with you, I'm probably going to steal that technique when I'm teaching
steal it.
screenwriting.
Everyone can steal it.
It's
It's
so good. If the guy that wrote a screenwriting book is stealing a technique from you, that should say something.
thank
So,
you.
yeah, well, thank you. All right. Well, so that was, I guess you could call that was kind of your big break moment, getting into it. And then from there, I assume you ended up landing some writing gigs at the production companies.
Um, so it was a little bit, I feel everyone's path is kind of different.
Yeah.
And like luck and just weird circumstances plays a part in that. But yeah, so we went out with it. Like we went out with Plan B, and it attracted my reps. So that was great. Movie didn't get made, but whatever.
Now, did you approach representation or did they approach you word of mouth? See,
So
that's what I'd like to know.
they did approach me, and a lot of writers have asked me, how do you get your reps? And I do feel like I totally lucked out. I think because we took the script out with Mark directing and Neil Israel producing, and he produced like
Yeah, of
Neverland.
course. You had
Yeah.
some heat behind the project. Absolutely.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we took it to my management company, which is also a production company, and they read it and they really liked it. They liked my voice. Because what I got back was like, wow, this is really like, I don't think teen girls act like this, and this is too edgy. But I felt like there was something there that, my voice was very defined.
Right.
And through that, I got two Cartoon Network holiday specials. which
Wonderful.
was super kid friendly, like G-rated. Um, but hey, like that's good,
Now,
like I,
so you landed that through Plan B. Did Plan B get made?
no,
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
of course not.
I have been telling writers this. Your breakout script, your script that makes you, it's your resume, it's your
Yeah.
calling card.
Mhm.
It's you walking into the door, and then they'll say, "Well, we have this other thing." You landed two specials out of that.
Yeah.
So Plan B didn't get made, but opened the door. So if you're listening to this, um, get that out there, but don't be married to that script. It is just your calling card. It is your resume. I love, I don't love that it didn't happen, but I love the success you got from it.
Thank
Because
you.
the same thing happened to me. I had a script that went all over the place, did really well. I got attention from it, and then ended up getting gigs from it. And that's when my eyes opened. But before that, I was like, "This is my golden ticket," and it's not. Well, that's wonderful. So tell me about the differences of, say, writing for yourself or writing for a
Oh,
production company.
very different experiences.
Okay.
I feel like for when I write my own scripts, I don't hold back.
Okay.
There I don't have an exec team telling me the vision they want executed.
Okay.
So I put everything in there because, like you say, I feel like with your own scripts, I would rather not play it safe. I would rather put your voice in there, and I feel for your writing soul, you need to do that. Just because, just get it out there, get it all down,
Like a
and
no
then
holds barred, just
no
get it
hold barred.
done. Yeah.
Totally. Another example is I wrote this TV script called Molly. Also based on a true story. It's about a teen girl who sold ecstasy, built an ecstasy empire.
Okay.
All my romantic comedy Mar Vista Hallmark movies, that's they read that and then they were like, can you write a puppy for Christmas? And I said yes. I would love to, and it's true. And the same. I feel like the same energy, though. I feel like the same energy that you bring for your original scripts, you should also bring for your assignments
Well,
as
let's
well.
let's let's break a few of these points down because
Okay.
you hit some good stuff. So, writing for yourself,
Yeah.
do whatever you want to do. You don't
Yes.
care about budget. You don't even necessarily care about genre. You're just going to get it done
Mm-hmm.
and kind of express that inner fire that's burning in you, right?
Yes.
All right. So writing for a production company is different, though.
Yeah.
You want to keep in mind budget, right?
Yeah. I do think for the first draft, put it all in.
Put it
Uh,
all in for the first draft. Okay.
it depends what you're working with. For example, I'm writing this one rom-com about a florist who falls in love. Okay, very sweet story. I'm not going to add like helicopters and a submarine. It's just
No explosions.
no.
Oh, all right. I don't know if I can write it.
But yeah, I mean, but I feel like the production company or whoever has hired you, I feel like they've hired your voice to execute their vision.
Oh, that's great.
Um, yeah,
I love
and
that.
thank you. You can have that too. But yeah,
I'll pay you a
so
nickel every time I use it.
it's I don't know. Okay. But yeah, and so sometimes so I also feel like, when you're writing your own stuff, it's you're policing yourself internally. And when you're writing for a production company or like an executive or something, they're going to give you notes. And I
Okay.
feel like there's an art in applying their notes where you're still trying to keep the vision of the story. Um, so I feel like I've met a lot of writers who, on assignments and stuff, they really like buckle down and they're like, I'm not going to change this and I'm not going to change that. And my theory is if you get a note, do the note. There's very few, like, choose the hills you're going to die on,
Yeah.
you know, especially if someone has hired you and it's not your original concept.
I agree with that completely. When I get gigs and I get notes from the client, director, producer, um, unless that note is going to severely break the story,
Yeah,
I'm not going to fight them on it.
yeah,
I'll be like, okay, let's do it, put it in. And I don't know how you were when I first started getting notes. It was tough. I mean, I took it emotionally to my heart,
mm-hmm.
and I was like, you're compromising my vision, and you don't understand. And then I started really, okay, nobody wants to work with that guy.
Yeah,
People want to work with somebody who they see as a teammate, a partner. And so those notes mean something, and they're giving you that note for a reason. Um,
I definitely, I feel like, especially the first time you get an assignment from a company or whoever, I feel like this is your audition. And so you don't want to come across as a difficult writer. You want to come
that's
across as
true.
someone who's fun to work with, who, like, going to bring energy to the script. Because you're really trying to build relationships. Like, it goes like beyond the assignment. You're trying to say, for example, when COVID-19 hit and production was all shut down, because I had built these relationships I had with producers and production companies, I'm really busy. It's like the busiest I've ever been, which is good though, because I feel, if I had been difficult to work with, or I mean, I'm not just saying just like roll over and take everything, but
No,
take it a little bit. I don't know.
I think what I'm hearing is that it needs to be synergistic. You need to be coming at each other.
Yeah,
How do I bring value to this project? How does my voice help this project? It's about the betterment of the project, and not about my ego as a writer.
yeah.
And go
I
ahead.
do have to say, just real quick, that being said, about the emotional like roller coaster when you do first get notes, even if it is an assignment, if you are a writer and you're getting notes and like they hurt, I always say, like, I never email back right away if I get a note. Just take a night or a day or something and just emotionally separate yourself,
Sit on it. Yeah.
take a shot and then come back at it.
Don't stew on it overnight though, so that the next day you're like angrier, but take time and reflect, and definitely bring it in, and think about it, and let yourself cool off. I think that's great. I mean, burning bridges is very easy in this industry.
Yeah.
You have to say the wrong thing at the wrong time, and then you're done. You'll just get ghosted. So yeah.
Sometimes you don't even say the wrong thing at the wrong time and you get ghosted. Like, oh man. The
Careful, tread lightly.
Okay, I'm not going to mention any names,
All
but
right.
there was a show that I was up for, um, to do to be like a junior showrunner,
Oh
and
wow.
two production companies signed off on me. They said, I like this writer. We've heard her pitch. We've read her work. This is great. The one of the person who basically had the rights to the story, I was all set to pitch, and I was going to come in that day. And by the way, it's a whole emotional roller coaster when you're pitching too, because you're like, you're prepped and you've got to get your energy up, and it can be a
You
little
got to
like
be excited about it.
too.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
walk in. Yeah.
And they were just like, no, cancel. I don't want to see her.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, that had to be hard to take.
Yeah, but I feel like at this point I just feel like just like failure and rejection, it just like rolls off of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're hardened. You've been through it. You're in the process, and you kind of build that shell, and you kind of have to. I mean, I've had as many rejections, if not more than anyone. So I get it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you know, I'm still here.
Yeah.
You got to be like Rocky. You got to take that punch and keep standing.
It's
Um,
it's very like masochistic in a way, you're just setting yourself up,
I
you
don't want
know.
to get into the personality traits it takes to be a screenwriter, but you got to be tough for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to circle back to management because you said something that was, and we kind of glossed over for a moment, but I think it could be big for some newer writers. So, management, or I should say correctly, representation, which that'd be an agent or a manager. So, from my experience, and please chime in. Uh, um, and you get approached by an agent because they hear about your work and you get recommended to them. But I find that a manager can be approachable. You can query a manager, you can build a relationship with a manager, and
Mhm.
that it's easier to get a manager than an agent. Do you feel that's accurate?
It was the opposite for me. So I
Oh,
got my
okay.
management, and then once I got my management through their contacts, they got me my agent.
Wonderful. Good. That's
Um,
great. Yeah, that works as well. From the experience that I found, though, I mean, you can't get the time of day from an agent, but you can over time build that relationship with a manager, and then hopefully get there. Very good. So let's talk about when that opportunity strikes and rolling that big script into more work and building those relationships. Do you have any kind of tips for people when they start to get a little bit of heat behind their script?
I would just say to keep up the relationships that you have with your
Okay.
producers and directors. Like I, I'm always emailing like every couple months, or especially if you have a new material out there and you feel confident to send it out, and like if you have a relationship with an exec and they'll read your work, if you just send it to them, that's really good. And I would like
Wow.
hold on to that.
So you
And
just touch base with them.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, keep touching base, and then talk about what you're working on too. So it doesn't feel one-sided. So it doesn't feel like you're just coming to them being like, "Hey, do you have any work?"
Yeah.
I think it also helps to research completely their company, like what they're looking for, because a lot of these, like it's all cyclical. I can't talk.
That's okay.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, you
and
could get that information on IMDb Pro and stuff like that.
totally,
Yeah.
variety is really
Yeah.
good.
What
Uh,
what, what else is really good?
I was gonna say variety is really good as well.
Right. Yeah, the traits are
Um,
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, and also if they've had an accomplishment themselves, like contact them and say congratulations, because anything getting made is a mini miracle to
I
me.
think that's a great idea to contact somebody and tell them congratulations if you see them in the
Absolutely.
trades or if they're Facebooking it or something like that. I think that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, keep that relationship fresh. What a great piece of wisdom there. Because how many of us just kind of make the networking, make the contacts, and then we kind of forget. But I think sending out that pleasant email, not too friendly, but obviously not too business like either. You want to kind of draw that business casual sort of
I have
relationship.
difficulty with
Do
that.
you, do you get super friendly? I can already tell.
Yeah. I
Well,
and then
you,
and then you email them a joke and they don't email back. And
and then you're like, was it a bad joke? Yeah, then you don't know. Oh, that's great. All right. So, do you feel that writing for streaming is any different than writing for a feature, for television?
oh,
Do you think there's a difference?
yeah, huge difference.
Okay.
One, especially if you're writing for streaming, and I mean, TV show and feature writing are so different. With a show, you're in a room, so you're in a room with other writers, and you're breaking the whole story.
Yeah.
And so it's a really collaborative atmosphere. One thing that I wished film school had was a course where it teaches you the politics and like the politics of a writer's
The
room.
writer's room?
Yeah, and what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and how to be helpful in a room. I just think that would have been
Yeah, I'm
that.
sure there's a lot of foot and mouth moments or tripping over your own feet when it gets to first getting into a writer's room.
Well, I researched everything, so I was okay. But I feel like had I not done that, maybe, you don't know. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah.
I would say with do you have is there when it comes to writing for streaming, does the network itself have a lot of way on the material or
Oh,
is it
100%. Yeah,
okay?
big time. Yeah. So
Do
yes,
they
they're
give you, I mean, like heavy notes?
they're giving creative notes. They're involved with like casting, production, like everything.
So like these Hulus and these Netflixes, from your experience, they're kind of driving a lot of the style almost of it.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Ah, that's really interesting. So
Oh
now that's not even something I would have considered. I would have thought they bought the concept and then you would just
yeah.
go
No,
with the
they're
concept. Yeah, they
very
probably have yeah, they probably have particular talent they've got agreements with that they want to work into the script. Yeah, that's fascinating. Do you have any other tips or anything about streaming gigs, or because I know
Oh,
there's a lot more opportunities showing up for streaming.
yeah. I mean, it's different because some of my projects that are available, like, on Hulu or Amazon or whatever, those were made from like one production company, and their like distribution plan um, was like these platforms.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's a bit different. Like, for example, like the Quibi show that I'm working on, that's coming from Quibi. That's a streaming plat. Oh, I will say that that it's really, really important to have your cliffhangers at the end because you want people to keep rolling
Make
and
sure
keep,
they have that act out going
yeah,
into the very next one. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I actually did research. Actually, was in an article in oh, it was a Pop Insider or something. It was in a magazine about the addiction to streaming shows, and that it takes 3 episodes to the mind become addicted to a television show,
Ooh,
and the brain actually releases serotonin when you stream and binge. So if you binge over time, you literally release serotonin and become addicted to the show. So I always think like the first 3 episodes, you really got to bang them out perfectly
yeah.
to keep people coming back. And then after that, maybe you can probably back off a little bit. But yeah, that's interesting.
What am I binging right now? I'm binging. I totally became addicted to you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was like, I think I watched the whole thing in like 2 days. And I'm a mom of an 18-month-old, so that is hard to do.
Wow.
Um, but I'm watching Uploaded now on Amazon. It's really good.
So good.
I
Oh
love it.
my
It's
God,
like
that
a
writing is
fun world, and
fantastic.
yeah. Oh
Yeah, it's great.
yeah.
Well, I think we've covered everything, unless you have anything else, any tips or anything you wanted to bring out for any of the listeners. But just to
uh,
have you on here as a writer who's worked for a production company, as an actively working writer who's banging out shows on streaming services. I mean, it's just like fantastic, and it's great for the community. I really appreciate that. I hope I've asked all the right questions, and so if you have anything else, uh, we can have a couple of minutes for a few more tips.
a few more tips. I would just say, don't be married to anything. Like married in like to ideas or lines. Like, oh, I really love this line of dialogue. Like, if it doesn't work, just cut it and move on.
Yeah, so be flexible.
Yeah. And another thing is, even when your original stuff is about to get made, I feel like then people can get really possessive. But I say, just don't do that, and just, it's because your career is going to be better if you get your original content made. You know what I mean? Because I
Yeah,
feel like you're always going to have good ideas. There's going to be other projects that you're going to create and you're going to want to do. And so, like, it looks better if you have one movie made as opposed to no movies made.
Yeah, so don't sabotage yourself by being too hung up on your own vision of what the success is, and allow that to happen. Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. That's all about, working again as a team. Like, they want to get it made too. That's why they provided you with the opportunity. And if you're the only one in your way, get out of your way. Get the
Yes,
thing made.
exactly. I know.
And I've even found when I've gotten notes on scripts, like notes that I thought were brutal, I'm like, well, this is going to ruin this thing, and then I
Yep.
would go through, I would challenge myself on how do I take this note that I despise
Yeah.
and make something brilliant out of it. And I would challenge myself to do that. And I would take that note and I would rework the script. And inevitably, it would be better. And then I was thankful for it.
I thought of something else.
Sure.
Um, I think it would be really good for every writer to have one person that they trust implicitly creatively. Because and that's not saying like, oh, just because this person says to make this change, I'm gonna make that change. It could even just having you be, oh, you know what? No, like I can use you as like a creative sounding board, but
Oh,
no,
it's
I
great.
actually
Yeah.
feel,
No,
yeah, I
that's a
think
good note.
it's so helpful because um, everyone who reads your script wants to comment on it and wants to add their own stuff.
Yes.
I call it
Yes.
creative urination.
That's
Uh,
right. I forgot about your term. I
yeah,
love that because everybody wants to leave their mark, right?
exactly. But if you have someone where you're like, no, I trust your sensibilities, I trust your creativity. You're not just making lateral moves. You're not just changing it for the hell of it.
Yeah.
That's
I
so good. It's so
That's
important.
a fantastic tip right there. And it's important to have somebody in your life you can talk with and sit down with and um, get it all out, and then someone who can make sense to you. What you don't want is a yes man. That's the last thing you
Exactly.
want. I've
Exactly.
got a couple of people that I
Oh,
know
yeah.
who are yes people, and I know when I'm talking to them, they're yes people, and it feels nice, but I know that's not what I need. So then
Right.
I'll call my one of my good friends who is just honest as they are brutal, and I'm
Okay.
thankful for it because
Yeah.
that's what you need.
Yeah. That's wow. I would love a yes man or whatever. I
I'll
just
send
feel
you
like
a couple.
that would just soothe my writer's soul. You get beat up
Yeah,
in
you do.
in this. So well, good for you. It's nice you have both.
Well, I mean, you need to know though. I mean, I know that they're being emotionally supportive, and that's what they're doing, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that. But I wouldn't sit there and think, oh, they're absolutely right. No, I go to my person that I know that I can really lean on, and then and it's just important to have that. But the emotionally supportive person is great there when you're at your lowest, right? And you need somebody to kind of build you up. So I will do that for you, Melissa. But I will do both.
Gosh, thank
I will
you.
be the emotionally supportive, but I will give you the
Oh,
honest truth too.
okay.
I'll strike the balance. So, well, this has been great, Melissa. It's been fantastic having you on. I really, really want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you.
All right, you take it easy and be safe out there.
Yeah, you too.